So a lot of people believe that the Appalachian region is probably one of the most creepiest places in all of the country, if not all of the world. I mean, if you're thinking in terms of movies or cinematic experiences, if you were thinking of a beautiful place to take a honeymoon, you might think of Hawaii. Or if you were thinking of somewhere to have an Old West standoff, you would think of, Tombstone, Arizona. But if you needed a backdrop that encompassed just creepy wilderness with caves and possible cryptids, then you would head to Appalachia. And as somebody who lives in Appalachia, I don't want to give it a bad reputation because while it is creepy, it is a very beautiful region. But here are just some of the locations in Appalachia that are creepy, maybe even haunted, but that's for you to decide. First, we have the Moonville Tunnel, and that's in MacArthur, Ohio. So back in the 1800s, for a brief time, mining families as well as railroad workers inhabited this area. Now, for some reason, it never really had more than 100 people living there at one time, and that's because there was no real roads leading to it. So there was no real way to get anywhere there. There's no real roads that led there. There was the Marietta and the Cincinnati rails that went through there, but most people just kind of went by foot. Unfortunately, all these people going by foot caused a lot of people to die. As many as 20 people fell to their death trying to go from one place to another by foot. There were trestles that covered Raccoon Creek, and many people died by falling through that. And of course, collisions with trains when they're walking the train tracks. So definitely a creepy area. Now you can access this area. There's a 10-mile rail trail. You can go right through the tunnel. They say the tunnel is haunted by these spirits that met their demise there. So check it out for yourself. Next off, one of my personal favorite places in West Virginia in Sutton County is Flatwoods. Now, some of you may or may not heard of the Flatwoods Monster, aka Braxy, but back in, I believe it was the 1950s, somebody saw lights across the sky and then spotted a alien or monster, cryptid, whatever you want to call it, that looked like this, which probably would be terrifying. But the town is definitely gone with this and ran. They have a museum, they have a restaurant. These chairs are set up in Sutton, so definitely you want to check that out, support them. Next is another personal favorite of mine. This is Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, and that is in Petros, Tennessee. While the landscape around it is beautiful, this was Tennessee's first maximum security penitentiary, and it lives up to its name. Lots of deaths, lots of violent things that happened inside of here that housed a lot of violent criminals. They do have various events. You can investigate it paranormally or visit it during the day. There's a restaurant, there is a brewery, I believe, and they do concerts here. So definitely check it out if you're in the area. This is the Old Trinity Episcopal Church, and this is in Mason, Tennessee. Unfortunately, this church was made by slave labor back in 1847. It has sat abandoned for many years, but back in 1994, a group of teens vandalized the property, desecrated graves, just not good stuff. Now, everything's been restored since then, but these ghosts are said to be pissed. Lots of paranormal things are said to happen, including a statue of the Virgin Mary who drips blood out of her eyes. More famously known from the Blair Witch Project, a little movie that you may or may not have heard of. Now, whether this area is haunted or not, the movie definitely has added a creepy feel to it, but there is a backstory, and it's kind of a sad one, tied to this rock. The local legend goes that members of a search party were looking for an 8-year-old girl. This search party was found disemboweled and tied down to this rock, and shortly after that, the little girl reappeared in town. Now, one of my favorite places in all of Appalachia is the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. What was supposed to only house 250 people was definitely maxed out past capacity very quickly, which caused a lot of mistreatment, poor conditions, just inhumane experiments. Lobotomies were done here, numerous ones. Some people died from them, some didn't. They just, were in a vegetative state the rest of their lives. This was a bad place, and as somebody who has investigated this place overnight and visited it many times during the day, I definitely believe that it's haunted. Now, in Pennsylvania, we have this town, Centralia. It has a fire burning underneath the town. Now, not many people live here. I think maybe like a couple at most, and the fires are still burning underneath. But there is a church, but there's not a whole lot to see. Now, the reason that fire started is because of a coal mine that was underneath that was set ablaze. Now, they say if you visit during wintertime when the air is colder, you will still see the smoke from down below seep up through and kind of give that misty effect. Now, this is the Mammoth Cave in Kentucky, and before you say, oh, no, that's not in Appalachia, you see this is, I believe, the largest cave system, and it winds and it stretches so far that parts of it are in Appalachia. This cave system spans 420 miles. In fact, they think it may be even longer than that. Explorers are constantly finding new passages. Now, I've heard that this place is potentially haunted. There are structures inside where they used to house TB patients, and many had died in there. And so they say that it is haunted by these people that had passed away. Now, this guy right here is known as the Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and Point Pleasant embraces this tale. Now, he was spotted in the area in 1966 and 1967. Many believe that when you see him, it's a bad omen. In fact, the Silver Bridge in Point Pleasant collapsed, killing, I believe it was 46 people, and it was right after he was spotted. So people think that if you see him, something catastrophic is going to happen. But like I said, the town celebrates him. They have a Mothman cafe, a museum, and even a whole weekend festival where they celebrate this guy right here. People even dress up like him. Now, if there's anywhere else you think deserves to be on this list, comment, let me know, and I'll see you next time. Bye.